Pardon-moi.
Not anything my son has ever done back to one specific date and may have done and may not have been disclosed that he has done.
Do you remember the Supreme Court ruling that came out this year? And they kept saying, like, about President Trump, essentially, like, you can't give somebody all of that, what's the word? Like,
immunity?
Immunity, thank you. You can't give somebody all that immunity, okay?
It's got to be specific.
Got to be specific.
So you would think that a pardon would have to be, you know, so-and-so committed a crime. Now, it's actually a crime to, like, kill a bald eagle. And, like, sometimes you can go to jail for, like, you know, 10 to 15 years for, like, killing a bald eagle.
You just said like 5 times.
Okay, but here's the thing. Mm-hmm. And you can go to jail for saying like too many times, too.
You're pardoned. That. Excuse you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Well, those are the kind of pardons that are usually out. Like so-and-so, you know, accident.
Put a cat in the mailbox and blew him up.
Yeah.
Pardoned.
Pardoned for that specific crime.
Sure.
But the blanket crime makes it look like he's a hardened criminal.
Like, this is what I want to know. I'm like,
there's a lot of crimes.
What else have you done, Hunter, that may
we've all seen the laptop, right? So he hasn't been charged with prostitution, even though he should be soliciting prostitution because he has. And he has all, I mean, like, there are so many crimes on that laptop.
Yep.
That they really can't be specific about them. Okay? Right. And it's on the laptop, and they know that if someone were to go through, they could charge him with a lot of crimes.
Sure.
So it's a blanket immunity. Well, the White House is also floating some pardons, preemptive pardons for Anthony Fauci, Liz Cheney, and Jack Smith, the prosecutor in the Florida case with the classified documents.
Oh, really?
And then you have to wonder, what do you know that we don't know? Now, I guess MSNBC is reporting that those people do not want pardons because they haven't done anything wrong. Because honestly, if you accept a pardon, you do have to kind of agree that there's a there there. So Liz Cheney and Fauci don't want to agree that there's a there there. And they've been able to skate by the skin of their teeth for so long. Well, let's just keep skating. I don't know that they think that Pam Bondi would actually bring any charges against him whatsoever.
Assuming she gets confirmed.
In other news, how many of you like insurance companies? Raise your hand. Oh, I don't see any hands. I have seen none. I see absolutely no hands. I was
like, where's this going?
Well, there is an insurance company called United Healthcare. And somebody was treated so badly that it would appear that they have hired a hitman.
Oh my gosh.
To take out the CEO of United Healthcare. And the assassin wrote words on the bullets. And when you see it, and it looks like he's kind of dislodging these bullets, these casings basically. And it looks like the gun is jammed. But it's probably not jammed.
Oh dear.
It's probably one of the things that I think the sheriff said was that this person seemed to be familiar with how to handle a gun.
Yeah.
In the way that he was
like
able
an assassin.
To clear
exactly
the misfires or the malfunctions. Were they misfires? Were they malfunctions? But there's actually supposedly a couple screenshots of his face. And one of them is smiling.
Yeah.
And
he was
flirting.
at a hostel or like a hostel type place where he was sharing a room with multiple people.
So this is very, very strange. Now, the liberals and the left, now people are taking sides on this. I'm not sure I want to be on the side of pro healthcare CEO. But what happens on the right and the left is that when the left goes crazy on something like celebrating this man's death, rather than the rest of us kind of sitting back here and saying, whoa, oh, okay. And then maybe talking about the nuances about healthcare, you have people on the left who are cheering it on. Right. Well, this is vigilantism. This goes to John Locke when we talk about that no person is a government unto themselves. You can use violence in self-defense, but this would be a case of thou shalt not murder. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I understand the vitriol against healthcare CEOs who are constantly does not condone the violence, but the anger and the frustration. People who've been denied their claim, they have insurance, and then their claims constantly are getting denied. And in these constant denials, is you just feel like you can't go on, right? And some people need chemo treatment or cancer treatment. So we're going to talk about that. Then another case that, and we would say the unfairness doctrine here, is a man named Daniel Perry. You might notice him as the curly-haired blonde with the mustache, who basically saved everybody on a train from a man who was having a mental breakdown. He was having a mental episode, and he put him in a headlock, and unfortunately he died.
Oh, wow.
And you know this case. We've covered it. Now, Daniel Perry should have gotten off because this was not manslaughter. It wasn't involuntary manslaughter. We have the video. We can hear from everybody around saying that this other man on the train was acting erratically and threatening people, and everybody felt like their lives were actually in danger. And you're stuck on a subway, so that makes it even, scarier and more dangerous. Well, the jury today has gone to the judge and said, we cannot come to a consensus. And the judge is pretty adamant and pretty, upset, and said, I don't think that having a hung jury and a retrial is what needs to happen. You are all smart, intelligent people. Go and come, all of you come to the same conclusion. That is not, in my opinion, how a judge is supposed to act. If people have strong convictions, and if a jury is a hung jury, in that case, you have not convinced the entire jury beyond a reasonable doubt, and that person gets to go free.
Wow, yeah. That's
good. Like that, that's, you want to have the unanimous consent of innocence and guilt. You want to, you want them to have a unanimous verdict. That's the kind of the point. But when you don't have a unanimous verdict, and you have these hung juries, and you have these trials where some people may be adamantly saying this guy is innocent, and some people may be, looking at the racial aspect of this and saying, we need racial justice. We can't have this white guy, vigilante justice and killing this black guy. And so this man who should be a hero, in my opinion, Daniel Perry, is on trial. And so we're going to cover that. And then finally tonight, we are going to kind of break down what's going on with the Pete Hegseth nomination. You see, I tweeted out to a picture of Pam Bondi, tweeting out a picture of her sitting down with Lindsey Graham. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why would you post this? And everybody's like, oh my gosh, she's a swamp creature. And then it dawned on me, and maybe I was just 2 seconds too ignorant for a minute. She has to go from senator to senator. She needs each senator on her team, which is part of the confirmation process. In the Democrat Party, you do not need to do this because they do not have morals or principles, and they really don't stand on principle. And the only one that's kind of done this successfully in any manner, there were two of them. The lesbian chick out of Arizona who didn't run again, the short-haired blonde, and the guy out of West Virginia who literally had to leave the Democrat Party because it's okay in the Republican Party to hate other Republicans, to go against the presidential wishes, and to really just go against the will of the people. It is not okay on the Democrat side to go against Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. I have no idea why Chuck Schumer holds so much power. Does he really hold so much power, or somebody else holds so much power? Nancy Pelosi, I think, is going to run again and again and again and again and again. And I don't know how she keeps living.
She's tales from the crypt, man.
I think she injects baby blood, and there goes my YouTube. Just kidding. It's a joke, YouTube.
They don't care about jokes, clearly.
Obviously, they do not. And then
Now, I want to do a shout out real quick before we move on.
we're doing a shout out.
Huge shout out. So, for anybody that's going to be watching this back live stream on bright.news, BRYT.news, we are so excited to be here on this new platform. I have to tell you that the producers and the creators of this platform and this network are just bar none, above and beyond reproach. We love them, and so we're honored to be there. So for those of you that are not familiar with bright.news, it's BRYT.news. You can see Ann Vanderstill there. We've got our friend Tom Renz over there, and a whole host of other patriots that you guys love so much. Jeffrey Prather, I think, is on there as well.
Brighteon.tv. You guys know we used to go live every Friday at 6 on Brighteon. It's non-existent anymore. Brighteon.tv. Now, Brighteon channel, the website is still there.
Brighteon.com.
You can still go watch our videos and many other videos and watch Mike Adams over there.
And you can shop at the Brighteon store and use promo code CHICKS and save 5%.
You absolutely can, and you should.
But the same producers that made Brighteon TV have now launched BRYT.news. And what's so cool about it is, you know how Brighteon was censored and Natural News was censored and Mike Adams was censored?
Yeah.
This will not be censored because it's not technically in affiliation with Natural News and Mike Adams. Although Mike is over there. He's one of the hosts along with us.
So that goes along with why we may be streaming on YouTube for a little bit until we get caught. Now, we have a name, Resistance Chicks, that is very much like Mike Adams. It's really not allowed places.
It's para.
Okay.
Can't touch it.
But I felt like the Lord told me to go live for the first time in 3 years, I think, on our
Sidecar channel,
Resistance Chicks Church. And that's what Bright, is it .news or what is it? Bright.news is. It's kind of like, you know what? Censor me once, censor me twice, censor me 500 times. I'm going to just keep popping up.
We will keep rising from the ashes.
And many people have encouraged us to just start a whole new YouTube channel. And you know what? It's very discouraging when you have something that you've built and it was big, and you know that whatever you do is going to be censored as well. Well, something I do believe is in the air with Donald Trump becoming president. And while we were censored on YouTube during Trump's presidency, we didn't actually lose our YouTube channels until Biden's presidency. So, and I didn't actually lose my Twitter until Biden's presidency. So I do believe that we can migrate a little bit slowly back to YouTube. I know that one good thing that is going to come out of a Trump presidency is that there will be less censorship. Unfortunately, with that, I think there's going to be less side rails on pornography, which we were already seeing on X and Twitter.
That's a huge problem for me. I have to tell you this. That's why I wasn't going to go back to YouTube because of that. But
and I don't need monetization on YouTube. I go back and forth on even if they would offer that to us again, because my mom watches a lot of really great YouTube channels, and they're family friendly. And then right in the middle of Horses with Jim is a cartoon of a naked lady almost. And I'm like, I really don't want that for you guys. So we have our own line.
We have our own store. We have launched a store this week. Let me pull it up so y'all can see it.
Now,
we're going to talk about it a couple times today.
Just almost half the orders that have come in so far have gone out, which is a big deal.
It's huge.
And I'm
already having to make new products.
So we are still learning how to streamline our shipping, because we really didn't know what people would be buying. So we didn't know what kind of
packaging to buy. And
so now that we know what you
we got y'all covered.
You're buying the whole sets, which is fantastic. I think you're buying them for gifts. It's a really great deal. Right now, for the first week is 10% off using promo code
Grand Open. Yes, it does. I think I'm going to extend that one day, because we pretty much with yesterday lost a whole day.
We did,
because y'all have prayed. Huge shout out to two people in this world. Abigail's dad,
Nicholas, last night until 1 a.m.
who was with us, really, really late last night.
So after the girls' show last night, we were praying. We're like, hey, we can't get our shipping thing to work, and it just would on. And so he came on and spent like a couple hours with us.
Yes, he did. And then again today, Charlie, who does the Bards FM websites, which are amazing.
Charlie.
He worked with me for 2 hours today.
2 hours.
I called Scott in a panic. He said, just call Charlie. So I have to tell you guys, Charlie is amazing.
So if you guys were
super even keel, steady guy, and
steady.
we did get to a solution. So we're up and running. The site is running. All the things on it are running.
So please go ahead.
So
if you tried to make an order, go ahead again, and we're gonna get those out. We're learning how to package and
hang on.
Where'd we go? Are you kidding?
Well, no, I mean, I'm screen sharing. No, now we're just frozen till it catches up. Give it 1 second. There we go. Let me drop this puppy down.
There we are. So Joy is here, and she would like for you to have clean teeth and non-stinky underarms for the holiday season.
So let me reorganize this the way that it should be. All right, so this is the Resistance Chicks store. Shop.resistancechicks.com. Super easy. It's just like resistancechicks.com, but then you add the shop and the dot in front of it.
It was down this morning.
I know it was. But it's back up and running, and we're so excited about it. So I'm going to extend, I will change the parameters. I will extend that coupon code till midnight Monday. Because we did lose a day. Grand open. It'll save you 10%. We're not going to be big on huge like coupons moving forward, but for the grand opening, we wanted to do that. But I have to tell you, I didn't make a ton of these ahead of time because I wasn't sure. It was the whole reason why I launched the store is this healing oil for the soul. And we already sold out of them. So I have been working today on them, which is so great. And I want to tell you guys why. I love making them because it smells up the whole house, but also I get such a dose of them that my whole lymphatic system starts to drain. Like literally I start peeing like a racehorse because I'm just draining all this fluid because that's how powerful all of these oils are in this blend. God gave me this blend in 2018 when my endocrine system shut down, and I also use it for anointing oil. You can too. We prayed over it.
But she never made it for anybody but herself.
For 6 years.
And she couldn't really remember exactly what it was, and it took you a long time.
No, I always remembered it. But it took me a long time to get it specific, like exact. Like I wanted it exact. And so you and I worked on it. We smelled so much. I think we got high on essential oils if you can. But I'm really, really...
Do you have one down here?
I don't because I just had to make them. And I was putting the ones that I made in the packages. So it has a roller ball. It's the top of the line roller ball out there, which is the Young Living one on it. So you can use it. I use it twice a day. I'll use it on my whole face.
But every time you go to advertise for it, I just want to use it. So you really have to keep...
I'm sorry.
I'm going to go get mine.
Yours doesn't even have a label on it. So I want to encourage you guys, if you want to get the whole set, you can. You can go to shop all products right up here in the upper right-hand corner, and everything is there. The deodorant, the tooth salt, the body butter, which I love. I can't live without the body butter. Every trip I take, my purse has a little container of it. Like I said, the tooth powder and then the whole set. We will be adding more products, and we will be making a tallow body butter version available probably in the next month or so. So you guys can look out for that for those of you that keep kosher. But Grand Open, promo code Grand Open. Please use it. It smells
so good. It's my favorite in the whole wide world.
There we go.
I love it.
And you know what I said, and I'm going to keep saying this every time I use it.
You can use it for a perfume, but guys, you can use it
because you can use it for men. It's not, I don't know how to describe this. I don't know how to describe this.
Because even you went to the chiropractor, he's like, what does that smell?
But it wasn't like, it was like, what does that smell like? I'm going to give him one.
He'll use it.
And he will use it. So it's you can't say perfume, but you can use it as a, I don't even, like just a way to smell good. Like, you know how everybody smells good, and we hate laundry detergent, by the way, but you know how like everybody smells good in laundry detergent? It's kind of like that kind of neutrality. You know what I'm saying? Of course, don't think of, because chemicals, there's zero chemicals. But anyway.
But that's just the thing. Chemicals, I am so sensitive to chemicals. I can't do candles. I can't do Glade. I can't do anything. It really, like, I'm not a headachy person. Like, I don't get headaches. But when I get around the chemical smells, that's why I love this so much. And I used to use a certain perfume. I even forget what it was called, white musk or something like that. I used to love it. And I like smelling good. Everybody likes smelling good. But it also,
It balances your hormones. If you've got issues with anxiety or depression, I can't say it's a cure-all, but I can tell you that from personal experience,
and we've been
it's
praying
very, very helpful
over them. And as we do them, we've been praying because
I was
they are
out
an
in
anointing
worship
oil.
and like I'm going to
But
tell you
it
something.
has been some spiritual warfare.
Today,
It's been some major spiritual warfare in the computer world.
yesterday is when I sat down to create these oils.
Yeah.
And within 30 minutes of me sitting down and I'm going to pray over these oils and I'm going to anoint them and I'm going to bless you guys as you get these. And I'm just in the zone and I am like looking forward to doing this. And Leah comes to me with the shipping issue. And I was like, no, Satan. So for the next 7 hours, we were working on this issue. Like it was insane. And so I said to my best friends today, I said, well, it's really just strengthened my resolve that I know that this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Well, it also goes to the 2 stories that we've done on YouTube in 3 years, and they're kind of in back to back. But we were talking about Daystar, and I will tell you, I was crying this morning when not just because things on the website were down, but I heard the word stronghold, and then I was thinking about last night when I read. Joni Lamb, if you guys didn't watch our expose on Daystar, I think you guys should all watch it. Please go and watch the Healing for the
Fractured Soul and the Revelation Red Pill from this week. Both of those episodes are Resistance Chicks required viewing.
Yeah, I would say so. It's, you know,
you don't have to watch the whole thing because they're long.
You'll get an idea
in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah. So Joni and Marcus Lamb started Daystar Television in the 90s. I think they first had met with T.D. Jakes. And
the second largest Christian television network in the world.
They rub shoulders with everybody. They even have Daystar Canada, and there's a lot of spirit-filled Canadians in Canada.
Didn't Marcus meet and pray with one of the presidents or something like Bush?
He did. He did. He's one of those people that goes around, like Billy Graham, and lo and behold, after they've been running this for about 10 years or several years, he has an affair. They pay the person, they try to cover it up, and then it comes out. And so there's been a lot of cover-ups in the past, and then they go on Dr. Phil and Good Morning America. I did not know any of this, to try to talk about how to work through things. And then it comes out that
they covered
up a family member possibly a family member's child was molested, possibly by
another family member.
Another family member. And the covering up or the non-investigation, and then Joni telling Susie, not the mom of the little girl who was abused, to not go to the police. And then the counselor coming in, the family counselor, going on Laura Lynn, I forget her last name, podcast, and saying, listen, I was the family confidant. They all came to me. There was a situation that happened with one family member was in the room with the little girl naked and had followed her up into the bedroom knowing that she was going to change. That was discovered and felt very guilty for some reason and started yelling, sorry. So a lot of this is circumstantial evidence. However,
but they covered up the fact that it even happened.
Yes.
So whether the family member is guilty or not, that's not. Right. And Joni literally did tell her son and daughter-in-law not to go to the police when their daughter came to them as a 5 or 6 year old and graphically described how she was molested.
And Marcus, before he died, told his son, who's the father, Jonathan, of this girl who was abused, that they're calling this guy Pete, the family member Pete, had been cleared by a professional clinical counselor, psychiatrist, forensic counselor. And that was not true. It was a bold-faced lie. And Marcus then just died. And then in the midst of this, Joni Lamb takes over. Jonathan was supposed to take over. Joni takes over. And then we've got all kinds of audio of church abuse, spiritual abuse, submission to authority abuse. And you can hear it for yourself. Jimmy Evans saying to Jonathan, Joni Lamb's son, she's the voice of God to you at Daystar. You don't get to hear from God yourself on issues at Daystar. When you have a ministry and it's also a quote business, it's very, very, you have to be very careful because you cannot treat your business like a ministry. You can't treat your ministry like a business. And I remember going to Rhema and they said, you need to treat your ministry like a business, but you can't because Jesus didn't.
No, come on.
Jesus never said, submit to me like that. He didn't control people like that. And Paul didn't either. Paul kept saying, you all have to submit to God at the end of the day. And Paul didn't go around saying, to Aquila and Priscilla, this is my business. This is my, Daystar, Morning Star, this is the Church of Ephesus is mine. Now you're going to submit to everything that I say. Like,
oh my gosh.
None of this is true, like truly biblical. And last night, what grieved me, and I'm getting to a point about like our little store here, was that another piece of information came out to make it even worse. Joni Lamb ends up marrying just a year and a half, by the way, after her husband dies, which is crazy. She starts dating a guy like very soon, or seeing this guy.
Her husband was only dead in the ground for 2 months when the man she's now married to just happens to decide to divorce his wife. And both the wife and the man she married, the sex therapist, Doug Weiss, they were friends with the Lambs. And so, like, who divorces your wife and then starts dating your friend who died's wife?
Yeah, it's very disgusting.
So then they get married. The kids are all upset. Nobody likes it.
Yeah, but speaking of this marriage, this quote unquote marriage that happened so quickly, and the kids, and that was another thing. Whereas Joni, that's part of the recordings, was Joni kept saying, "You will accept this marriage. You will accept this marriage," and none of the kids wanted to accept this marriage. They all felt like it was wrong. They all felt like it was off. Their dad had just died, and their mom is off dating a guy who just divorced his wife for her. Like, that is not biblical, right? So it's worse than not biblical. One of the things that Jonathan has on recording is a business meeting. He used to be in charge of the write-offs, the corporation's write-offs. And Joni Lamb had charged $100,000 to Daystar for her honeymoon. Not to mention, this guy that she married is supposedly wealthy and the man is supposed to pay for the honeymoon, which is really weird. But she used Daystar's credit card twice to go to one resort in Mexico for $100,000. Now, I don't care what anybody says about, well, if it's their money, they can spend and they can do what they want. First of all, when you are a ministry, you're not the same. You're not the same as some sort of big CEO or George Foreman or whatever, because your finances come from people sowing into a ministry, and you are required by God to be a good steward of those finances.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? Now, from what I understand, I don't know if Daystar has a side business where they make car parts or something like that, and they just happen to be millionaires.
I'm going to guess they get a lot from ads, maybe.
But that would be on Daystar. Mm-hmm. That's not from a business or something they have on the side. And so they have so much money that they can spend $100,000 on a second honeymoon, a second marriage honeymoon, that the most of us don't see $100,000 in a year or 2 years, okay, in your whole income. And they just blow it in a week on a honeymoon. To me, what that says is that they are less than good stewards, that they're using people. Right. And why I am not making a judgment on, like, oh, I'm not judging from a place of like what other people say, like pride or arrogance. I'm judging from a place of a single mom giving $20 to Daystar because she wants Daystar to be able to reach more people with the gospel.
Right.
And then Daystar goes and uses $100,000 of that. How many single moms or how many people in dire straits did it take to pay for that honeymoon? And then when Jonathan called out his mom, supposedly they said that she paid it back. It is legit on the credit card. Then there's only 3 people on the board. And I guess this Chandler guy decided that Daystar would just gift Joni $100,000 for the honeymoon. That the board will do, trying to get around.
Who's on the board again, Leah?
It was Jonathan, Joni, and this Chandler guy. Just 3 people. There's no big board of like 10 people to
But I'm
make
just
sure
saying,
that this is on the up
Joni
and
is
up.
one of the votes that votes to gift her this money.
And one of the things that she's saying that Jonathan won't submit about is her marriage to Doug. And lo and behold, her spending all Daystar money on her honeymoon to this guy. So this is Jerry Springer level.
Come on.
In the church. And I started crying today because when the website was down and we're not able to get the orders out as quickly as I want to get, you guys are going to get your orders. Don't worry.
Leah is obsessed with making sure they get out like Amazon Prime today. I'm like, Leah, we can't do that.
I would like to get them in the mail. That means you would get them in 5 days.
Well, I don't know. Priority mail is pretty.
No, I've done the shipping. It's like 2 to 3 days. So if I get your order within 1 to 2 days, I want you to get it within like 5 to 7 days.
That's very reasonable.
But mostly you're probably going to get it within 7 to 10 days right now. But some of you will get it earlier. Like those who went out today, some of you have 2 day shipping and it should arrive. And some of them got sent out yesterday and some the day before. So my heart is like, I am so on the side of, I don't want to take advantage of anybody. We're even,
she said that she started crying. I'm like, Leah, they will be okay with waiting. And she's like, but I don't want anybody to think we're up front. And she's like crying just because we can't get these packages out in time.
It's not, I mean, what is in time? I mean,
what I mean by that is your emotion that I'm allowing to be aired on air proves how much we want to be proven with integrity with you guys. We went back and forth on the prices
of the things. We went back and forth on the price of shipping. Right now, the plugin for shipping is that we can only have one set rate for shipping. We can't change it for each product yet. So I know that if you buy a 2-salt and shipping is $12.95, that seems like outrageous. And so somebody who ordered a 2-salt got a soap too. So we want to make things fair and we're trying to make it right. And some of you, I'm just like, oh, well, here is rush shipping for you. And we want to make things right. We want to be honest and full of integrity. And I'm over here like nickel and diming like $3 extra on shipping or something. Right. And they go and blow finances like it's no big deal. I think Jonathan had also said that his sister took some photographies and it was like $5,500 of photography fees for his sister that he didn't want charged to Daystar. And I look at these things and I look at the sexual abuse, the sexual things surrounding this. And the Lord was kind of speaking to me because this is still, summing up news for this week. This is definitely headline news in the church. Was that it's all a perversion. So it's a perversion when it comes to money, and it's a perversion when it comes to God's covenant between a man and a woman, which is the sexuality that God has given human beings. With Joni now with this sexologist who's very, very.
She literally married the lowest of low pond scum of human beings. He's a sex therapist that goes on television with very graphic detail, trying to incorporate God and not,
but his discussions,
not making love, just sex.
His discussions are pornography.
They're pornographic. They're pornographic. He literally said Jesus died he didn't even say for our sins.
You don't have to say
he died
words.
so people can have great.
Yeah, don't say it out loud because even just repeating what he says is pornographic.
Yeah, exactly. And
so,
she married this man. Now, whatever, if she chooses to marry him, okay, fine. But
what I'm saying is that I'm in tears because, we do not live big, fancy lives on purpose, okay? We are honest to, I know that my life and my ministry depends upon making sure that I am right with God.
This goes to the Pete Hegeseth clip that you had me play, which I did. We're going to play this later today. For all of his faults, and there are many, Pete says, I don't have to answer to you guys, the reporters. I have to answer to these senators. I have to answer to Trump, who won, 74 million votes. And I have to answer to my creator, to God Almighty.
But I don't think that most people believe that they do. I think they say it. The Daystar people, I don't think Joni thinks that God's going to hold her accountable for anything.
I think it all the time. When I was upstairs and I was making those oils, right? And I'm I've got worship music playing and I'm praying in the spirit and I'm talking to God. And then if my mind starts to drift into different thoughts of different things, because we had so much pressure and I'm thinking about the website, and I literally like out of not even a fear of God, that's not the right word, but like I want to do the right thing. And so I would make myself stop and get back into prayer as I'm making these oils. Why? Because this is what God has asked me to do. And so we all have this kind of inner Holy Spirit compass. And
when
some
people can
smash
shut
theirs.
it down, and they do it in a way where they hurt people and they take advantage of people. And you've seen it with the big ministers. You've seen it. And that's why I can't stand them, because I know what inside of them that they have turned off.
Oh, that's good.
The love of God for people, the love of God to not want to take advantage of people, the love of God to not want to take, like, Benny Hinn, everybody knows that he was living a high life with like golden briefcases and stuff like that, and like, private jets. And I feel like it's so wrong. And I just wonder to myself, what is going on in your brain when you're living such, like, that's why I call out Joel Osteen, because I know that he has some part of his mind and heart has been turned off to people, and it's okay for him to take advantage of people. He doesn't feel bad about it.
Right.
And so, speaking of taking advantage of people.
Yeah, are these tabs ready to go?
Yeah, they are all ready to go. I don't even know if I can share this story. So I am. Jesse Waters, and if you've got kids in your room, I'm sorry, but this is happening at the VA.
Oh.
The VA workers had been having sexual tourists on the job on taxpayer dime.
What?
Yes.
Like at the hospital? Like the VA is, when I think of the VA, I think of the hospital.
I think the administrators.
Oh my gosh. Like at work or like on vacations, on their dime?
Just listen.
Okay, 1 second. We're getting everything ready here to go. Hang on, Jesse.
Yes, at work, by the way.
It's not just that they're lazy, they are horny.
What?
Veteran Affairs officials in Tennessee just got caught having an orgy.
What?
On the clock. And not just any orgy, 12 people, butt naked, all over each other at work. We paid for that orgy. This was a taxpayer-funded orgy. Veterans Affairs,
What?
literally.
What?
Some of the sex was at the VA hospital.
Ew!
So while veterans are getting MRIs, these guys are in the other room going at it. And one of these bureaucrats fessed up to sleeping with 32 of his coworkers. 32. 32. And the guy and a bunch of the 32 women were on company email bragging about it. This is the same VA that put veterans on wait lists to die. And they got bonuses the longer the wait list. So Obama said he cleaned it up, right? Remember, I cleaned up the VA. It's not cleaned up where I come from, Barack. We're $36 trillion in debt, and the government's either working from home or having orgies.
How did he deliver that with a straight face?
I don't know.
Leah.
I don't know. But speaking of healthcare, this is
Hang on, you're just gonna let that story. That's it.
No,
That's all you're gonna say.
We're just, that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
This is a side story. We're gonna talk about the United Healthcare CEO being shot, assassinated, basically. But this is another story that Patriot Gallery brought to me. That if you need anesthesia for like a longer period of time, you're gonna have to pay for it, because anesthesiologists were engaged in widespread billing fraud. Blue Cross Blue Shield changed their policy to change this fraud. The leftists parroted industry lobbyist talking points and pressured them into reversing their decision. Now we will pay higher premiums. So Blue Cross Blue Shield in Connecticut, New York, and Missouri has declared it will no longer pay for anesthesia for the full length of some surgeries. If the procedure goes over a certain time, anesthesia will not be covered for the duration.
Oh my gosh. Can they do that?
So many people got duped. The media, insurance regulators, everyone. Blue Cross was just trying to adopt the same anti-fraud rules Medicare already uses when paying anesthesiologists, and a doctor trade group bullied them into backing down, and leftists celebrated this. Today, the American Society of Anesthesiologists want to fight to continue defrauding Americans by overcharging them for care. So let's talk about anesthesiologists. They are notorious for surprise billing. where they charge an out-of-network rate at an in-network facility. When people report in excess of 5s and 0s for quantities like IQ, height, age, it indicates error and lying. Anesthesiologists report in excess of anesthesia times ending in increments of 5. As it just so happens, the ones who do this the most profit the most. Have you ever noticed that when people, let's see. So that's basically law firms do this too. They just extend their time. A given anesthesia case generates compensation units based on self-reported time providing patient care. 1 unit is 15 minutes of care, and insurers like to pay to the exact minute. So they usually require unrounded time reporting, and yet some anesthesiologists round a lot. The anesthesiologists who report the most rounding to times ending in increments of 5 end up costing the healthcare system much more than expected. They bill for significantly longer anesthesia times than they ought to without extreme rounding. Anesthesiologists do this across diverse settings, but the problem is somewhat worse at specialty surgical centers, which is another point that lends itself towards this being evidence of fraud, given the longstanding concerns that specialty centers overcharge. To prevent anesthesiologists from defrauding patients, the health insurers by charging for incorrect overestimated times under anesthesia, a simple solution is to change the nature of billing so that the anesthesiologist has less direction. And what I don't understand is why can't the doctor and the wherever you're getting it done say this is how long that they were there? Like this is like self-reporting.
But even more than that, weird. Like, okay, so when you go to get your car work done, they pretty much charge you unless something else comes up. They have a book and they go and open the book and see what that charge is for that job on that car. Okay. And so I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, lots of people work salary, man. You do the job. Like I'm getting paid to do this anesthesia for this patient. If it doesn't take as long, great. I've gained some time. If it takes even longer, well, then it all equals out, right? So this whole like billing by time seems to be the loophole that needs to be closed.
Yeah. All right. So, but here's the thing. Insurance companies are notorious for not paying out when they should. And then you've got doctors on the other side.
Who feels bad for the insurance companies?
Overcharging. But let's go to this report of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, New York City, being shot by a guy on he came in by bicycle.
John Miller, I want to go to you. You're getting some new information as well.
So we have breaking news. Police have researched that area of Central Park, looking for the backpack that the suspect was shown leaving the murder scene with and riding into a park on the bicycle with, and then riding out of the park without. On their second search tonight, moments ago, they recovered that backpack. Now, what's in the backpack? What evidence will it offer? Can they exploit DNA from it? Will it have a hair that can be matched later? What are the contents of that backpack? Does it contain the semi-automatic 9mm silenced pistol that is the murder weapon? We don't know that, and neither do police. Once they located where it was, between some boulders just south of the Central Park Carousel, the famous merry-go-round that is just north of 59th Street, they froze that area, they bagged it. It's going to be taken to the NYPD lab and handled by their scientific people so that any evidence that is there can be preserved, and they will not open it until it's under the control of those techs and lab people from the crime scene unit and the laboratory division in Queens.
So let me get Josh School to weigh in on the breaking news. How significant potentially the discovery of the backpack in Central Park? How significant do you think this is, Josh?
Well, I think what's to be determined. It depends on what's in the backpack and what type of evidence they can get out of the backpack, as well as DNA evidence, hair, trace fibers, those types of things. But I would also say that the area around the backpack will be significant, and they're going to process that. They're going to look to see, can they match a shoe print? Is there some other evidence that the subject left behind? Because you can never have too much evidence in a prosecution in a case of this magnitude.
So, yeah, I'm not convinced that if there's anything left behind.
That's what I was thinking. Like, you literally stole my topic out of my mouth.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. They found the backpack? Huh?
He wants you to find
Then
the
that's
backpack.
what they want you to find. I'm going to say they here. Okay? Because I'm still not convinced that this isn't a little bit, maybe not what we're being told.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? This seems like a job that would be carried out, again, kind of like the Trump assassination attempt, would be carried out by someone who knows what they're doing. Mm-hmm. The gun had a silencer on it. This child picture, do we have this so we can show it up, Leah? The picture of the kid anywhere?
All right, John Miller, I want to go to you. You're
sorry.
Oh my gosh.
I just scrolled up and there it went.
There we go.
Is that on your Twitter?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I want you guys to see this picture of him smiling. Like, he's like a little kid. Like,
You think he's a kid? He looks like a grown man. He's got mustachy hair.
okay, he can't be more than 21.
Look at his. No, I don't know.
No way is this more than a 21-year-old. You guys tell me in the chat what you
Really?
think. Yeah,
He
no
looks
way.
like a grown man to me.
He looks like, have you seen a 21-year-old? Like,
Yeah, he's got the big teeth. Like, he looks 30 to me.
your teeth, really?
I think that he's a trained assassin.
You
for
think
sure.
so?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I do believe that.
Okay, the trained assassin that, let's play the YouTube that you have. The trained assassin that can pull down his mask to purportedly flirt with a girl. That's the trained assassin you're talking
Wait,
about?
That's not the YouTube. That's not the one I have.
That's what we're supposed to believe. Like, I'm not buying that he's a trained assassin if he pulls down his face mask when there's cameras. Like that.
Well, there was
No.
messages written on the bullets. Okay, that said delay, deny, defend.
Yeah, but they could be doing that to make it look like anything. I need to log into YouTube. Is this what I need? Or are you retweeting that one?
I'll get it. I think he was.
I mean, I can just play it right here. I have it downloaded. No, I only screen recorded. Just kidding. I didn't download the whole thing. Just kidding.
You guys can put in the chat.
You're
what
logged
do you
into our
think?
Heavenly Pet Sitting.
What do you guys think?
I'm telling. Well, they haven't seen it yet. Like they just heard about the
I'm sure
backpack. We
they've
haven't
heard
played
about
the
it
whole
today.
story yet. Like you think they come to us to listen to the whole story? Let's give them the whole story, and then let them decide.
I'm sure they've been watching the news.
Have you guys heard this story yet? Are you just really? And your answer should be no, Leah and Michelle. I only get my news from you. That should be the answer. Okay, so of course that's the answer. Now it's going to be in my history.
It should. Do you know what history is right there?
They are. Jeez. Nope, that's us.
You're not. You're in the wrong. I'm playing it the wrong.
When
one.
I'm live streaming to this channel, that's the channel I need to be on.
We're at the church, baby.
Having church up in here, church news. You know what?
Let me see your church news.
Why don't we just call our show Church News?
We could.
Or News Church.
News Church.
I like it.
Oh my gosh. Resistance Chicks News Church.
Resistance Chicks News Church.
Is that blasphemy?
I don't know. What do you guys
Ecclesia means church, which means gathering and assembly.
I think we might have
I think we've
something
got something. Resistance Chicks News Church. We can change name on
We're
YouTube
going to start
now.
with Chanley Painter with the latest on the search for the healthcare CEO killer.
Got her
Chanley.
stance
Hey,
there.
good morning. So the police appear to be closing in on the identity of the man suspected of gunning down 50-year-old Brian Thompson Wednesday morning outside a New York City hotel. Fox News Digital obtaining this surveillance video from a deli near the scene of the murder, capturing the suspected gunman walking towards the Midtown Hilton less than an hour before the targeted shooting. Police sources now revealing the suspect arrived in the city more than a week ago on a Greyhound bus from Atlanta before checking into a hostel in the Upper West Side using a fake ID, paying in cash. These photos were taken at that hostel, the first images to show the alleged masked assassin's face, smiling. Reportedly, in a moment, he pulled his face covering down to flirt with the hostel clerk. Police sources saying he shared a room there with at least 2 other men.
What I heard is that he stayed on the 407, like really next to the bathroom, like right next to mine. I'm used to violence because I'm from Rio de Janeiro. There's a lot there, but like not that kind of like cold and meticulous and professional killing.
Police sources also revealing to Fox they have a cell phone they believed was dropped by the suspect near the scene with fingerprints, and a water bottle purchased by the suspect at a nearby Starbucks that is being used to build a DNA profile. And while a motive is still not clear, as we reported yesterday, the suspect left behind possible clues in the words "deny, depose, and defend" written on those shell casings and live rounds there at the scene, possibly a message to the murdered CEO of one of the largest healthcare companies in the world, guys.
All right, Shanley Painter live for us. Shanley, thank you so much. Let's bring in Philip Klein. Philip's security firm provided bodyguard service for Brian Thompson. And Philip, you knew him personally and say he was a very nice guy. So tell us what stands out to you the most about this shocking situation.
Well, what stands out most to me is the inability to provide him security in New York City while he's going to give a speech to many mad stockholders and possibly mad clients of the healthcare company. We are still trying to figure out, and it'll come out one day, did he deny security and say, look, I don't want security around me? Because he does run one of the, if not the biggest healthcare industry in the world. Or secondarily, does the healthcare company not provide him security? Whatever it is, in my 41 years as being a personal protection officer, I've never seen a security faux pas this big in our industry.
That is fascinating, because I think that was a question so many of us are wondering. You're looking at the video on the screen. There's nobody attached to him. There's nobody near him. He is alone. And you think at 6:48, New York City in the morning, you might have somebody if you are that big of an executive. Speaking on the executive front, you mentioned this is your business. You've been doing this for decades. How common is it for executives like this to receive threats on a day in and day out basis?
I don't know of one top 20 company that does not have private security or personal security inside their house. And what I mean by house is inside their company. That does not have agents that either escort their principal or their CEO from point A to point B, or travel with them or go wherever they go. I don't know of one top 20 company that does not have personal security for their CEOs. This is, like I say, this is completely unusual.
Well, and to be clear, they have that security because they are receiving threats, Philip?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you get threats, you know, especially in today's world. If you look at the anger of the American people, let's say in the food service industry, my phone rang off the wall yesterday with people in the food service industry.
Right.
Their CEOs are getting death threats. My eggs cost too much. My milk costs too much. I go to your grocery store, it costs too much. These guys are getting threats every day now, every day of the week, and so they're getting personal security.
Angry, evil world up there. Yeah, we're running out of time, but I just want to, Philip, real quick. So we know what the gunman looks like, and there are reports that he may have dropped a cell phone, a water bottle. We appear to know how he got to New York City and where he stayed. It doesn't seem like this guy is any sort of real mastermind, given the clues that he's leaving police. So when do you think police will be able to get a positive ID on this guy?
Well, I think they'll be able to. I think they probably already have some kind of an idea who he is and where he came from what I'm hearing in news media accounts. He's not a professional, obviously, if he's leaving bunny trails like he's left, as well as his actions with the gun itself, the suppressor, the baffler, how it stovepiped on him. I just don't see him as a professional. So that makes him a little bit more dangerous when police do catch up to him. I wouldn't be surprised if it got into a gun battle or a suicide.
And lastly, real quick, Philip, because like I said, we are running out of time, but we mentioned that you knew him. You provided personal security for him. So just quickly tell us what he was like.
I was his detail.
So I don't think that somebody's going to go to all that trouble to write those words on the gun, on the bullets, that they. Would you even know how to do that? Like it's just odd to me.
Our tagline for our show is it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's actually the truth. Right now, all you're looking at is theory. Mm-hmm. Okay. I just know that personally, and that I did want to show that the the other picture that you had up there. I know personally, I look at these types of things and I just don't believe what we're being told right off the bat.
Book I just tweeted out. It's called "Delay, Deny, Defend: Why Insurance Companies Don't Pay Claims and What You Can Do About It." So it's a thing. And so let's dive a little bit into this. Woman says, I'm not going to talk about the CEO, but I do want to talk about United Healthcare facts. So that's going to be to the right of that.
United Healthcare, I am not going to talk about what happened to their CEO yesterday because I can't be honest about how I feel about it. And if I can't be honest, then I'm just not going to talk about it. But I'm going to give you some facts about it because I work with insurance and people should know. People should know these things. So United Healthcare, they own Optum Health, they own Change Healthcare. There's 158 subsidiaries underneath of United Healthcare, some of which are overseas, and most of those are pharmaceutical services. So yes, they also are part of Big Pharma. So now they're insurance, Big Pharma. Change Healthcare. If you don't know what that is the service that processes the claims from the provider to the insurance company so the provider can get the pittance of money that the insurance company is going to pay them for their services that have been rendered. Earlier this year, Change Healthcare got hacked. It's almost been a year now. They still aren't completely back up and running. So when this happened, United Healthcare, I know y'all think doctors sit on piles of cash. That's not how it works. They have to be getting the insurance money in on a regular basis to keep their money flow going. Well, when you can't send your claims in because Change Healthcare has been hacked and you can't mail it in and you have to go around all these, the doctors weren't getting paid. Their bank accounts were empty. So a lot of them were going under. So United Healthcare went out and was like, hey, we can help you out. We'll buy your practice, your hospital, your urgent care. And they went and they bought them. So now they're insurance, now they're pharmaceutical, now they own the system that processes the claims. Now they own the providers that use their insurance. The providers are owned by United Healthcare and getting paid from United Healthcare claims. You know they're already in trouble with the DOJ already because of all of this. Like if this is not a monopoly, I don't know what is. So in 2023, their total revenue was $371.6 billion, 14.6% increase from 2022. And $22.4 billion in profit in 2023. They paid out $281.4 billion in claims in 2023. But let me tell you this: United Healthcare is the main insurance for Medicare, Medicaid, and Obamacare plans. That is the main. Is 29% enrollment is United Healthcare under those three things. Those are all government-run healthcare systems. And United Healthcare is the main insurer for all of them. I don't know about you, but when a company decides to become that big, that they are now the doctor, they're the provider, they're the insurance company, they're the pharmaceutical company, they're the company that processes their own claims. They did a study, and United Healthcare, by a 90% margin, denied more claims than any other insurance company on the market.
Oh my gosh.
And again, they are the highest enrollment for all of the government-run healthcare, Medicare, Medicaid, Obamacare. They deny, and then people die. People die.
Wow.
Wow.
That was powerful.
Wow.
And informative.
And yeah, informative. So people have put on Twitter things like this physician's appeal to United Healthcare to authorize anti-nausea vomiting meds on behalf of a pediatric patient on chemo was denied. And somebody says, "Dear blank heads at the insurance company, I can't believe it has come to this. I have to take time away from my patients to inform you that you're idiots. This whole experience makes me want to vomit, but of course I wouldn't dare throw up without the approval of my insurance company." Which brings me to my point. Apparently, you have decided that a child receiving chemotherapy has no reason to be nauseated. I didn't think I was unnecessarily writing prescriptions for antiemetics for so-and-so. Obviously, you would know better about the side effects of chemotherapy than me, my peers, and the entire scientific community, going all the way back to Dr. Sidney Farber. I suppose my alternative to Zofran and something that is to let them so-and-so know that their nausea is all in their head. However, I don't imagine you would cover the psychology consultation either. So I'll just tell blank to stop throwing up. Thank you for that simple solution. You have saved your greedy, blood-sucking corporation shareholders a great deal of money, I'm sure. Of course, that would be the bottom line. Feel free to contact me if you need further information about how much you guys stink.
That's awesome. Let me read some comments. So dentist Sherry in the chat says, in dentistry, they don't own dentists. They just don't pay well if you are in network. Medicine was taken over by the insurance and pharma companies years ago. Willie says, sounds like antitrust or even racketeering really needs to be shut down. I could not agree more with that. Over on YouTube, back to the shooting itself, Irish Gray says, leaving fake clues, I believe, to throw the search, jamming if the gun, which left the marked bullets, and maybe the bottle left had fingerprints left on purpose of someone else. Ballistic Mystic says, the problem with healthcare is healthcare. It seems like a distraction to see the insurance company as the problem rather than the healthcare. That's a really good point. Let's see. Anon says, it seems like a very personal message to the insurance company.
I had a stroke and United Healthcare moved me from the top stroke center in the state to another hospital because the ER I went to was out of network. My doctor made them wait until I was out of the ICU. They refused to cover the ambulance. They made me take to the other hospital. So yeah, I mean, honestly, insurance companies are repulsive, but the whole system is repulsive. And speaking of systems being repulsive, I just tweeted out another Fox News report on this, and then they're going to roll into the possible pardons with Fauci, maybe. So I want to play this.
Sorry about that. That came out of nowhere. All right, let's go back here. I think I keep going back to that Ballistic Mystic comment. The problem with healthcare is healthcare.
It's
like,
not.
It's not healthcare. It's sick care.
Yeah, sick care.
Phil Holloway, former assistant district attorney, former police officer, and legal advisor to Georgia's Sheriff's Department. Phil, pick this up where Alexis was reporting. The gun is very unusual. It seems to be a modern version of of a Welrod pistol, which was developed for the British Special Operations Executive, which was Churchill's secret army. It is a bolt-action suppressed pistol, or a modern version of that, where it's designed to have a silencing effect. It's a weird gun, and it would be easy to trace if that indeed is the modern version of that very somewhat rare bolt-action pistol from the 1940s.
Yeah, Dagan, great to be with you. That Welrod gun is, in fact, very, very unusual. It was described as the perfect, assassin's weapon. So if, in fact, that's what the gun was, and it looks like that to me as well, it's not something that's widely sold, okay? And so that's the kind of thing that authorities, particularly like the DEA and the ATF, they can go in and check these records to see who might have been in there buying a weapon like that. But if you take it a step further, in law enforcement cases like this, you always have to start at the center and work out. So that means means not only from the victim himself, look at his phone, his electronics, work outward and talk to the people that are in his life and perhaps eliminate them as potential suspects, but the alleged shooter as well, Dagan. Now that we know probably that he traveled to New York from here in Atlanta, just a couple of miles from where I'm sitting now, I can tell you that Atlanta, like New York, has a very robust crime camera system, and the Greyhound station is in an area of Midtown where there's lots of high-rise buildings, lots of corporate offices, lots of other types of businesses. All of those places also have private security. So at some point, when you go backwards in time from this assassination, and that's what it was, he probably has let his guard down. He's had an interaction. He's taken an Uber. He's bought a sandwich somewhere. He's used a credit card. He's used his own phone. And not to mention, we've got his face. Family, people know him, his friends, acquaintances, probably prior coworkers, they know him. Law enforcement, if they don't already have his name, and I think they might, they are going to have it very soon, because he's not a professional in the sense that, you know, he covered his tracks back that far.
Right, and he, according to reports, took an Uber back to the hostel the second night that he checked back in. And of course, United Healthcare would have a giant security unit and would be able to provide any information to the NYPD and investigators about threats to the CEO in prior days, weeks, months, even years. But moving on to this, Phil, President Biden's pardon of his son, Hunter, has won Democrats saying that the standards should apply to both sides. Here's Senator John Fetterman.
It's undeniable that the case against Hunter Biden was really politically motivated, but I also think it's true that the trial in New York for Trump, that was political as well too. Now it's that, and in both cases, I think a pardon is appropriate. We cannot allow these kinds of institutions to be weaponized against our political opponents, and it's very clear both trials were politically motivated and weaponized.
A new piece with the headline, "The liberal media lays groundwork for mass pardons of deep state minions." And apparently Biden's team is listening. That comes after reports that Biden's White House is considering preemptive pardons for people who they think President-elect Trump could target. Names include Dr. Tony Fauci, Senator-elect Adam Schiff, former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, former Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Mark Milley. The Wall Street Journal editorial board argues this, quote, "Preemptive pardons for outgoing officials would be a bad precedent, a constitutional abuse, and the next lawfare escalation. It would establish a precedent that presidents on their way out the door will grant immunity to lists of loyal staff and officials. If Biden really wants to cool the political temperature, he could pardon Trump for 2 federal cases. This would be a political olive branch that might stop the reprisal ratchet." Phil, broad pardons to people who haven't been charged with any crimes, that would, in the future, anybody who went to work in an administration, particularly a Democrat one, would just think that they could get away with, well, maybe murder while they were working there, and then they would be pardoned for what they might have been caught doing.
Well, yeah, certainly that type of pardon is not what the founders surely envisioned when they gave the chief executive of the United States, you know, such broad and plenary pardon power. I'm sure this kind of thing never crossed their mind, or maybe they would have made it a little less broad. But nevertheless, let's just take, for example, Tony Fauci, right? All those people that you mentioned, including him, have denied that they have done anything wrong. They've denied any federal criminal activity whatsoever. So if Joe Biden were to go so far as to preemptively pardon an Anthony Fauci, for example, history will forever judge him as being someone who needed a pardon. In other words, he had done some particular federal crime for which he needed a pardon. He's vehemently denied that, but others have said, look, he could be indicted for maybe lying to Congress. People say that maybe he committed some type of mass fraud by lying to the American people about masks, vaccines, social distancing, school closing, and the whole thing like that. So history will forever judge Anthony Fauci and the others as people who needed a pardon because they had committed a federal crime, and that's not what these people want.
Senator Rand Paul last year did make an official criminal referral about Tony Fauci's testimony to Congress. Just noting that. Phil Holloway, thank you so much.
Okay, so I don't know if there's going to be any blanket pardons for Fauci or Cheney, because it does make them look like they are guilty. They are guilty.
I think the question will be how scared they are, because if they ask Biden for one, they'll get it. So like you usually people getting a pardon want one, right?
Yeah.
They're asking for one. So the question will be, do you think that Liz Cheney is trying to get a preemptive pardon? Do you think that Mark Miley is trying to get a preemptive pardon, or Fauci? That's the question that I would have.
That is a good question. Here is Jean-Pierre being questioned. Will Joe be pardoning Hunter? And of course,
second one, will the president pardon or commute his son if he's convicted?
So I've answered this question before. It was asked of me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear, and I said no.
Okay. We go back to the first question of the briefing. I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and that it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Again, you've also said several times that the president would not pardon or commute the sentences for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no. And I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
Second one, will the president pardon or commute his son?
That's it.
oh
yes.
No. All right, I want to play Jon Stewart here on the
Is this clean? Are there
extensiveness-
curse words here?
I believe it's clean. The extensiveness of the pardon here.
Okay.
The rule of law. Finally, Democrats have a moral perch from which they can judge without shame, hypocrisy, or nuance.
Breaking news, President Biden has issued a pardon for his son, Hunter Biden.
Mother... We were so close. But you know what? Get fine. It's good. It's right. It's his right. He's an 82-year-old man. Doesn't want to spend the rest of his life visiting his son in prison. Republicans get away with this shit all the time. I'm sure the pardon is a narrowly written, precisely drawn farewell note of compassion for a loved one.
The pardon sweeping, covering offenses that Hunter Biden, quote, has committed or may have committed or taken part in over the past 11 years.
Years is a very specific and not rounded amount of time. So, Hunter, I'll give you a pardon. Well, a few years, 5 years, 10 years. It needs to be 11. And if you would be so kind, make sure this upcoming New Year's Eve is also covered. Shit's going to get crazy. I didn't know pardons could cover crimes you may have committed. I'm surprised Biden didn't include the phrase, on Earth 1 or any of the Earths in the multiverse.
That was pretty good.
11 years of crimes that you may have committed. So anything that you've done, and my question was this. So, like, if he went on a mass murder spree, and it was found out, like, he killed, like, thousands of people, like, that would still be covered under this pardon. because any crimes you may have committed
In the last 11 years?
in the last 11 years.
That is a very specific time frame.
This is a very
non-rounded
number. So if you go to the left of that, you're going to see Joe here falling asleep with African leaders. And I'm just wondering, I do not believe for 1 second that Joe himself actually pardoned Hunter. I don't think he had anything to do with it. I don't think he knew what was going on. I don't think if you asked him what that he would know.
With the U.S. in support of the development of the Lobito Corridor. Tanzania views the Lobito Corridor as an integral part of a broader strategy to enhance connectivity in Africa. We also appreciate the fact that the implementation of the project will provide important opportunities for Africa's development in sectors such as agriculture, renewable energy,
I'm gonna look at you
digital
through my
transformation, trade and logistics.
Because if
along the
I can
corridor.
keep this one up and I can keep this one closed,
Tanzania
watch.
is
It's a
already
good way to sleep.
undertaking internal consultations
Oh, one
aiming
eye's
at
open, keeping
aligning
it
this
open.
project with national priorities and other bilateral and regional commitments. In closing,
Look at him watch. Look at
allow me to reiterate
He's
Tanzania's
laughing.
commitment to regional integration and
He
shared
knows.
prosperity. We note the progress made on the development of the Lobito Corridor and commend the visionary leadership
Nice.
that has brought this initiative to life. And it is through such partnerships and innovations that Africa's Agenda 2063 will be realized. I thank you.
Oh, Leah, that was
I got
painful.
one more before you leave that one. Here you have the president of Angola is actually kind of manhandles him here a little bit. Okay, come with me. No, ready? Here we go. Okay. Wait. Okay. And he lets him because he's an old man. And at least even the president of Angola knows you got to handle Joe.
And then he holds his hand out to be shaken for like this really long, painful, like 7 seconds.
But every single world leader knows that he's a senior citizen that needs with dementia that needs to be led around.
Oh my God.
He literally grabs him.
The 25th Amendment. Like,
this is embarrassing. So who decides right before he leaves the presidency he's going to take a 2-week trip to Africa?
who decides that Joe should be sitting anywhere? Like my question is, so we're running on next to no sleep.
You are. I took a nap.
And it's so hard sometimes to keep your eyes open, to stay awake, to be focused.
Why don't you take a nap and I'll finish the
Stop
show.
it. But you show up and you do what you're supposed to do. If I'm the president of the United States, why is he not getting enough sleep?
Well, you shouldn't send him on a two-week trip to Africa. Like, it's not like your body is already kind of breaking down a little bit. Yeah, I do think that's what it is.
Willie says, I'm sure Joe is asking himself, where is Angola? Chris says, where is the hand to shake?
I don't even
Biden
know.
is such a thinker, says Willie.
I legit don't know where Angola is. Like, there's so many African nations. If we all had to play where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, we'd all lose on Africa.
We would.
Like, we would. Let's just admit it. All right. So let's go to the Daniel Perry case. Now, actually, first, go to my Twitter. And I would like for us to play Daniel Perry in his own words here. He is the man who I believe saved people on the subway when another man was acting erratically. Just scroll down. There he is.
East Village in Manhattan, so I take the subway multiple times a day. In this instance, I was coming from school. I got out of class around 2:15, and I took I was at J Street Metro Tech, took the Uptown F train. At 2nd Avenue, a man came on, stumbled on. He appeared to be on drugs. The doors closed, and he ripped his jacket off and threw it at the people sitting down to my left. I was listening to music at the time, and he was yelling, so I took my headphones out to hear what he was yelling. And the three main threats that he repeated over and over was, I'm going to kill you, I'm prepared to go to jail for life, and I'm willing to die. You know, this was a scary situation, and Mr. Neely came on. He was threatening. I'm 6'2", and he was taller than me, so it was. And there's a common misconception that Marines don't get scared. We're actually taught one of our core values is courage, and courage is not the absence of fear, but how you handle fear. And you know, I was scared for myself, but I looked around. I saw women and children. He was yelling in their faces, saying these threats. I couldn't just sit still. Some people say that I was holding on to Mr. Neely for 15 minutes. This is not true. I mean, between stops is only a couple minutes. So the whole interaction lasted less than 5 minutes. Some people say I was trying to choke him to death, which is also not true. I was trying to restrain him. You can see in the video, there's a clear rise and fall of his chest, indicating that he's breathing. I'm trying to restrain him from him being able to carry out the threats. And then some people say that this was about race, which is absolutely ridiculous. I didn't see a black man threatening passengers. I saw a man threatening passengers, a lot of whom were people of color. The man who helped restrain Mr. Neely was a person of color. And then a few days after the incident, I read in the papers that a woman of color came out and called me a hero. I don't believe that I'm a hero, but she was one of those people that I was trying to protect. We were all scared. Mr. Neely was yelling in these passengers' faces, and they looked terrified. The reason why there was no video at the start of the altercation was because people were too afraid getting away from him, and the videos didn't start until they saw that situation was under control. I knew I had to act, and I acted in a way that would protect the other passengers, protect myself, and protect Mr. Neely. I used this hold to restrain him, and I did this by leaving my hand on top of his head to control his body. You can see in the video there's a clear rise and fall of his chest, indicating that he was still breathing. And I'm calibrating my grip based on the force that he's exerting. And I was trying to keep him on the ground until the police came. I was praying that the police would come and take this situation over. I didn't want to be put in that situation, but I couldn't just sit still and let him carry out these threats.
So
Wow.
obviously the kid isn't lying.
I mean, clearly he's so
Clearly
well-spoken.
he is a hero.
Yeah.
And you're going to see this video over here. This is the prosecutor bringing this case against her. Prosecutor in the Daniel Perry case is an insane leftist Jewish lesbian with Holocaust PTSD. She has tried to radicalize the Perry case, and there's no evidence it has to do with race at all.
And thinking about what it is that I've been doing all these years, it's actually very clear why I became a prosecutor. My father was a Holocaust survivor, and his parents were murdered. And so I grew up with somebody whose parents were murdered and all of the emotional implications that go along with that. Now, as a kid, learning a lot about the Holocaust and knowing about my family's experience, something that really, really bothered me was that nobody was ever held accountable for what was done to my grandparents and everyone else. And I remember a story that was being told when I was a kid. It was about this woman that right before she was shot into a pit that she herself had to dig and killed, she yelled out to the Nazis and said, "You will be held accountable. One day you will be held accountable. You're going to pay for what you've done." And it was told as a story of bravery, but I didn't take it that way. I was devastated and angry by the fact that nobody, in fact, was ever held accountable. And so look at what I do. I hold people accountable for killing other people. And so this has basically been my life's mission, is to hold people accountable for killing other people, that every life is worthy of being accounted for. Now, what holding people accountable means has changed for me.
And I'm going to guess that it has to do a lot with race.
Mm-hmm.
Because in her, she has said that Yoren used similar language earlier in the trial during her opening statement, and her team also allowed witnesses to describe Penny as the white man and a murderer. prompting Penny's defense lawyers to object and ask the court to declare a mistrial over the language, saying Penny didn't, Daniel Penny, didn't see the humanity in Neely, unfairly invoked race, according to his defense, and combined with other language, it would make it impossible to get a fair trial. The judge denied the earlier motion to declare a mistrial. Now, he is in New York.
His last name is Perry. This person that made that post, I think,
Perry.
made an
It's Perry, yeah.
mistake. But that's
so
all
I'm
right.
going to play this one here. Now, the judge is dismissing the manslaughter charge after a deadlock. So this is the newest here.
Alrighty, stunning development in the Daniel Penny trial on that subway chokehold death of Jordan Neely. The most serious charge moments ago just dropped by the judge, telling jurors manslaughter in the second degree is dismissed. What that means to you are now free to consider count 2. Whether that makes any difference, I have no idea. What we have been able to surmise right now is that the remaining count here that will deal with criminal negligence, of course, is something that is not nearly as serious a charge as that manslaughter charge could have been, and could have landed, obviously, if he had been guilty of it. Daniel Penny in jail for the likelihood of about 15 years. Now, this does complicate a number of other developments in the case when the jury resumes on Monday to address this lesser charge. With CB Cotton following it all at the New York State Supreme Court with more. CB, what does this mean?
Hi, Neil. Well, it means this trial is not over yet. Jurors will be back on Monday, as you said, to deliberate that lesser charge, criminally negligent homicide. For Daniel Penny's defense team, this might bring some relief because we know that top charge, second-degree manslaughter, has now been dismissed by the judge. As you mentioned, Penny could have faced up to 15 years in prison on that charge. It has been such a high-stakes day here at the courthouse. We know the jury came back twice, deadlocked, unable to reach a unanimous decision on the second-degree manslaughter charge. And that's when you had a whole conversation in the courtroom between the prosecution and the defense on what to do next. Ultimately, the judge dismissed that top charge. We also know so far in the trial that jurors have requested to review a lot of information, a lot of video evidence. They've also wanted to review portions of testimony, and they've asked the judge at least twice to explain the laws in this case. They've asked for the definitions of recklessness and negligence. They also asked the judge to redefine what a reasonable person is as it pertains to use of force. And I've been talking to a lot of legal experts about this case, including a retired New York City criminal court judge, and he had an interesting take on what all of this means from the jurors in the deliberations room. Listen to what he had to say.
What I do know as a minimum is that there are jurors on that jury who likely believe that the defendant, Mr. Penny, is not guilty of, at least some jurors would appear to believe he's not guilty of manslaughter in the second degree.
Definitely appears to have been the case because they came back twice deadlocked, and now they won't have to weigh that charge at all. I do want to mention, Neil, that there was a bit of pushback from the defense on the jury having to deliberate the lesser charge, criminally negligent homicide. Defense attorney Thomas Kenneth appearing to express to the judge that he felt it may be coercive for jurors to now have to weigh this lesser charge. What I think he's trying to do is have this on the court record to preserve his rights on appeal, and I think that's why he's bringing some of these concerns up to the judge. But the latest down here at the courthouse, Neil, is that jurors will be back on Monday to deliberate that lesser charge.
So still pray for him. I got a couple more. Don't go anywhere, because I do believe he was a hero. He's not calling himself a hero, but I think he was.
We can ask for God's justice in this.
Jordan Neely's father has been out of his life. Jordan Neely is the kind of schizophrenic man. He had obviously some mental issues. That his father has been out of his life, and now he wants to sue Daniel Penny. Sorry for the mistype there. For money now, with extortion.
After years of abandonment, he is now here to support his son. And he wants to support his son by filing a lawsuit against Daniel Penny seeking money. Your thoughts on Jordan Jordan Neely's long-lost father filing a suit against Daniel Penny.
Jason, I say typical nugget, right? Because if you haven't done anything for this boy, why are you looking for a payout now? I think he should get, the equivalent of every dollar that he put into Jordan's life. That's the way that I feel, because if you really cared about this man, why was he on the streets to start with? I don't think any of his family should get any type of payout, because if they really cared, he wouldn't have been in the situation to start with. They would have used their resources to get him the help that they claim he needed, and he just wouldn't have been there. So I don't think anybody should be getting a payday. If they want to sue, give it to a charity. But I don't think the father who hasn't been around should actually now get money off a son that he never took care of.
None of it is surprising to me, though. And because that seems to be these drug addicts, career criminals who die, they're like a different lottery ticket. And everybody knows, hey, there's dollars to be made if my drug-addicted criminal son dies. I can now hire Ben Crump and stand in front of cameras and cash in. I'm not remotely surprised.
So obviously just kind of an opportunist there. And then lastly here, this is body cam footage released in the Daniel Penny trial shows the witness Aletha Giddings, and she is giving an eyewitness account right as it after it happened.
This young lady's right here.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you see?
What did I see? I was sitting over there. I heard the young man that's on the floor saying, hey, I'm willing to die. I'll do anything. I'm willing to die. I'll go to jail. I don't care. I don't care. And he was saying it so loud that everyone turned around. So this young man, he got belligerent and he tackled him down. The one that just passed away in the brown jacket, the one that just went past.
So obviously she's saying he was, I'm going to die. I'm going to, I don't care. So there you have it. What do you guys think? I'm just hoping that they pray that we can pray him into,
innocence. Yeah. God, we just thank you that justice will be served in this, and that ultimately when history looks back on this specific incident, the truth will be told and the truth will be known. And I just thank you that Daniel Penny will be found innocent, and not just innocent, but found as a hero, because it's not enough to just say he's innocent. We have to recognize that it takes a lot of bravery to protect other people in a situation like that. So Lord, I just thank you that he will be proven innocent, but more than that, he will be proven as a hero.
Yeah, no. Amen. Amen. Absolutely. Now,
pray for acquittal, says Jim.
What we probably will do now, after I do a thing called commercial break, if you guys are watching on YouTube.
Let me read a couple more comments before we get to your Jordan Neely. The mental health system and the justice system that kept him on the streets are to blame, says Wicked Sykes. Jim says the judge wants a conviction. Willie says prosecutor thinks every life is valuable except unwanted unborn children and straight white men. You can be sure. He says Mr. Penny needs to be cleared. The prosecutor needs to take a long sabbatical, get therapy, and let Jesus into her life.
Come on.
Amen. James says these courts are so full of it these days that this clown is just looking for a meal ticket.
That's good. One more video here on the Hunter Biden. You can't rewrite history. Judge slams the pardon, and that's the YouTube right there. Yeah.
7:01 here in New York City. More fallout this morning over Joe Biden's controversial pardoning of his son Hunter, as the federal judge in California accuses the president of trying to rewrite history.
Now, in light of the pardon, more accusations are surfacing about the first son's very troubled past.
All right, Lucas Tomlinson's got the assignment. He's at the White House this morning. Lucas, fill us in.
Well, good morning, guys. That's right. The federal judge overseeing Hunter Biden's tax case took umbrage with President Biden's comments, saying that these charges against Hunter were politically motivated. The judge lashing out, saying, quote, The Constitution provides the president with broad authority to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, but nowhere does the Constitution give the president the authority to rewrite history. The pardon not only absolves Hunter of his tax and gun cases, but also for any crimes or potential crimes committed over an 11-year period. The judge also noted this pardon could be seen as, quote, exceeding the scope of the pardon power. It's a good thing you have an attorney on the couch there, guys. Biden for months said that he would never pardon his son. That line was repeated at the podium here at the White House by his press secretary for months. Of course, they also said for months that Biden would not be dropping out of the race. Hunter Biden's former landlord says the president's son has been slow to the hip, or Venmo might be more appropriate, stiffing him by over $300,000 in rent after Hunter stayed in his $4.25 million home in California. Sean McGuire posting to X, quote, what happens to the $300,000 plus in payback rent that Hunter Biden owes my family from 2019 to 2020? Is that pardoned now? Perhaps that's a good question for the White House press secretary who's traveling with President Biden in Africa, guys.
Amazon hates this.
That's a really good question. Do you guys remember that fancy place that Hunter was staying in? He never paid rent to be there.
Oh my gosh. And then the person that he owes it to is calling it out.
Right. And Lucas, I think it was yesterday or the day before, KJP said that this particular pardon was not vetted through the typical clemency process that happens at the Department of Justice, which is just a couple of blocks behind you.
That's right. Many eyebrows were raised when the pardon covered this 11-year period. That's a large time period, of course. It is not just a pardon for a particular crime. It's everything over more than a decade, Steve.
Parking tickets?
Right. Or maybe even something more serious.
Maybe.
Right. Thanks, Lucas. Appreciate it. So, number one, question of character. The character, Hunter Biden, who was living free from a Hollywood producer who decided to pay his overdue taxes and let him live with him for free, and I assume pay for his attorney, one of the most expensive and respected in Washington. Now we find out when he was living on his own, while the president was running for president, knowing his laptop was in the FBI hands, he's living in Venice Beach with Secret Service protection, rent-free because he decided to not pay rent. When people people's investments are in rental properties, especially on Venice Beach, takes a lot to buy a little, and you have that there. And then when you complain, the Secret Service changed the locks and the landlord's locked out. That's the character of the person. If you are Joe Biden, vice president, and want to be president-elect, and you find out your son is not paying rent. Remember when a nanny or a landscaper without papers would hurt a candidate? Then you have your crack-addicted, hooker-addicted son not paying rent, living for free out on the West Coast, doing your international business deals, all of which is on the laptop that you left at a local repair shop. But having said all that, the fallout has to be beyond what he ever dreamed. And among the people who are his detractors
okay, you
is
can
Gavin
pause that.
Newsom.
Now, a little bit more on this. The enormous scope, not only was this for a family member, but it effectively made Hunter Biden immune. Anything he might have done over the past 11 years, whether charged or uncharged, convicted or accused. The president made sure his son could not be charged based on the results of investigations that are still ongoing into his influence peddling. This is a proxy pardon that will extend to Joe Biden and other members of the Biden family. By pardoning Hunter, Biden crippled ongoing investigations into influence peddling that also implicated Joe and his brothers, Frank and James, who made deals in similar.
Self-preservation.
That's why this is why this is a family pass.
Right.
So sometimes you buy an individual pass to an amusement park.
Leah.
And sometimes, what?
Nothing. You're you with the passes.
And sometimes you get a family pass. So they got a family pass.
Leah.
It's a family pass.
Family pass of pardons.
Yeah. Peter Schweitzer calls it a stunning acknowledgement of how corrupt this family is. The timing matters. Why does it specifically start with January 1st, 2014 and end December 1st, 2024? Oh, so it doesn't cover New Year's. Okay. Why? Wow. Up until just this month. Because Schweitzer explains right after the start date is when the money from China first began to flow. Hunter traveled to Beijing aboard Air Force Two in mid-December of 2013 and made an investment deal with Chinese government and intelligence-connected officials that would later total about $1.5 billion. In April of 2014 was the Burisma deal, which when Hunter was given a seat on the board of a Ukrainian oil and gas company, despite having absolutely no knowledge or experience with the energy business. The spring of 2014 was also when Hunter Biden secured a deal with $3.5 million with the Russian billionaire Elena Budatur, how do you say that? Baturina, right? She was hoping to be left off the list of the Russian oligarchs that were being sanctioned by the U.S. following Vladimir Putin's first invasion of Crimea. She was never placed on the list. And what about the end date? This may have to do with Hunter's later career as an untrained artist who sold his artwork to art lovers for as much as $500,000 a piece. Although purchasers were not formally disclosed, some of them received ambassadorships from his father's administration. According to reports, some of the art was apparently sold to people in China. But through the pardon, any of those transactions would not be subject to investigation and possible prosecution either. Why does he need coverage through all of November this year? Joe Biden stepped down from the race in July. Could there be money coming his way after dropping out? And then a second bite at Hunter's immunity deal. A prosecutor named David Weiss offered Hunter Biden a plea bargain in which he admitted to the gun charges and the feds dropped the tax charges. But I'm not going to jail for either. Yeah. Okay, nobody has to worry about your taxes ever again. Like, if the president's son cheats on his taxes, nobody ever has to worry about your taxes. You don't have to pay them. You don't have to do anything with them. You don't have to pay your rent.
And what's the point of us having all of these regulations for your gun registration if you can lie on it and get away with it?
But what I don't understand is the left is so big on guns. Like, they're the anti-gun people. And
they want him to get off for lying about the very thing that they are incessant.
Oh, no, that's the one he did the plea deal with. We're going to drop the tax charges, but you got to keep the gun charge because it would look really bad if you did the reverse.
Yeah,
This deal was presented to a federal judge who rejected it, and the deal fell apart. Hunter Biden's attorneys believed it would grant him total immunity from any future prosecution. This shows how shameless the Bidens are.
It's unconstitutional. I don't know that it's going to hold up. I mean, especially under, it just depends on who.
But when... I just want to make it clear when John Fetterman there, the senator from Pennsylvania, said that both the case against Trump and Hunter were politically motivated, the Biden administration, the Biden DOJ was the DOJ that went after Hunter because they had to. And they wanted to make the plea deal. But the judge rejected it as too broad. They were trying to make the deal. They knew that they had the taxes on him. They knew that you have to do something. Everybody knows about him lying with the gun. Everybody knows. So the fact that Fetterman can just with a straight face say that it's politically motivated and other people can say it was politically motivated when it was literally your father's DOJ who has to go after you. Because it's that bad. The mainstream media is absolutely dead on this because they know how bad it is. They absolutely know how bad it is. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to say goodbye now to our few people on YouTube today. Happy YouTubing because we're back on YouTube for a little bit. We'll see how long it lasts. We're going to go over and we're going to talk about a James O'Keefe clip. I probably shouldn't be saying this out loud. NIH chief confesses to blank health initiatives were completely made up. So if you want to see that and censorship, and if you want to see us talk about a huge case being argued right now in front of the Supreme Court, I believe we should be able to say this wherever we want to, but it's about the Tennessee law banning the genital mutilation of children, and it's being heard in the Supreme Court this week.
All right, so I just dropped the Rumble link in the chat on YouTube, so if you guys want to hop over there. But right now, actually, while we say goodbye to YouTube, let's also say goodbye to Bright News. So if you've been watching on Bright.News, we are so glad that you're here. We're honored to be on Bright.News. And if you do want to support us through Brighteon, you can go to the Brighteon store, brighteonstore.com. Use the promo code CHICKS. You'll save 5% at the checkout. What I love about the Brighteon store is that Mike Adams personally curates all of the products that go on it. You know that they're going to be the best. You know that they're going to be healthy. They're going to be organic, and they're going to actually be effective.
Yeah.
So brighteonstore.com, brighteonstore.com. So thank you guys for being here on Bright News. We're going to say goodbye to YouTube. We're going to say goodbye to Bright News.
And probably Facebook.
So
that we can talk about this trans issue
freely. So for the Bright News people, you guys are amazing.
So
we'll see you next time right here from Bright.News.
Amen. We'll see you. All right.